Hi everyone, today I'm talking about Apple's new earnings report, and we're going to just talk about what has happened and my opinions on Apple and if I'm going to be buying in any Apple shares after this earnings report. Basically, I'm sure if you've watched a lot of my videos you'll see that I kind of rate Apple my third favourite FANG stock. I think the dip on Facebook is a good buying potential. I'm a big fan of Google stock, but Apple is up there. We have a really good balance sheet into Apple. We've hardly any debt, so much cash, dividend, a really good dividend, and just today it hit $1 trillion market cap, which is the first ever company to do it, which is insane. Obviously, long term, I've always said that the problem comes with the iPhone sales and moving into other markets because the iPhone sale is slowing down because people aren't upgrading the phones as much. But I think obviously we'll see this in this report a bit later on. But you notice that Apple are upping the prices on the iPhone, which pretty much means that even though they're selling the same amount of iPhones, but they've increased the products, it means they're getting a bigger revenue from the phones, which is a smart move to do. It was a good move increasing the value, and I'm sure they'll continue to increase them values to carry on having that higher revenue without phone sales pretty much growing that much. I think when we get a little bit on, what's really impressive was when we start looking into some of the services that Apple do, how much they've grown. Potentially they're going to slow down slightly in the future, but there's still a lot of growth there. And we'll talk a little bit more about Apple services just slightly in a little bit. So we'll get stuck into this article on CNBC about Apple. Apple delivers a strong earnings report and its shares pop. They definitely did pop. I think as right now they're at 207 per share. Getting that $1 million market cap. It might change slightly, but it's roughly about that. EPS grew by 40% year over year and revenue grew by 17% a year. So clearly still a growth stock to be getting 17% year over year revenue. And for an EPS on a $1 trillion market cap company growing by 40% on EPS is excellent. The 4.13 million iPhone shipped during the third quarter, basically flat from the year ago period, but the average selling price, the APS, of $724 is a notable jump. So that's why it kind of, even though the iPhone sales were flat, because they charge more, the revenue jumped on that, which kind of was predicted. Quite funny, a while back I was reading another article saying that iPhone sales are slowing down. Articles about Apple messaging chip manufacturers saying they're not going to need as many chips because the sales aren't weak. They always come out before Apple's earnings report, but they are always fine. It's really funny. I think it's the only stock that has that sort of articles written about it. Then it goes to its earnings and it never fails to, it never lets you down because it always hits them iPhone targets. It's quite funny to watch. It makes me chuckle every time I see that article about the iPhones sales being weak. It never seems to happen. Apple reported strong results for the financial third quarter Tuesday, posting big beats on earnings per share and average iPhone selling price. Here's how the company did compared with Wall Street's projections. So 2.34 versus 2.18, which is a nice clear beat. The revenue 53.3 billion versus 52.34 billion. Nice easy beat on that. And iPhone sales, you see 41.3 million versus 41.79 million. So they did miss it, but because of the average selling price, it was still everyone kind of was like, oh, that's fine. The quarterly report comes after market rout for major tech stocks. Silicon Valley giants Facebook and Twitter each slided 20% after disappointing reports last week. And I think that is a very important point, is that I think the last few days would have been negative if Apple had missed these targets. I think the stock market would have been very weak because we've just seen Netflix miss, we've seen Amazon miss revenue, Facebook has missed. Twitter, it's not a FANG stock, but and I think if Apple was to miss it, and Google's pretty much one that kind of came out clear good numbers, I think if Apple missed that, I think we would have seen a big red day after this report and the next few days and today. And I don't think Apple would have got to that $1 trillion market cap. I think that for all investors, we should be very grateful that Apple actually hit these numbers, because we're all making money on this green day because of Apple. The shares of Apple rose 4% in extended trading. I think they eventually went up to 5%. With with projections of strong upside for the quarter that ended June 30th. EPS grew 40% year over year, which is excellent, and revenue by 17% over year by year, which is really good. And then it just talks about the average selling price, which we talk about. The funny little line I thought from CEO Tim Cook here told CNBC Josh Lipton that the company was thrilled with how we did. I think they're going to be more than thrilled after the last few days of what they've done. Apple also touted growth in its other products, making over 60% growth in wearables. That's excellent. I thought the Apple Watch would grow slightly. I've noticed a lot more people wearing Apple Watches, and other products like the HomePod, Beats, AirPods, which is really good. We could see here that services as well. The Apple Store, Apple Card, Apple Pay, iTunes Cloud Service. The segment has been outpaced iPhone revenue growth for several quarters. Apple posted 9.55 billion in services, and a jump was 28% from year ago quarter. So that's, the services definitely where, for me, is where a lot of the big investment goes. And like I say, we could see a little bit of a downturn in Apple from just not much. It's still going to be excellent. But I think the biggest thing from Apple is that it's a strong company, but I've said before on this channel, I like it to go invest in a couple more things. Have a couple more in that service sector would be great from my point of view. But Apple is just a safe company. If Warren Buffett's loading up on the share and he said that he should have bought more shares, that this company is a really good company, because Warren Buffett is by far the best investor, and he's loaded up on shares and he's made so much money. I read an article on it the other day that Warren Buffett actually has made $2 billion just from his investments back in, I think it was January it was. Since January he's already made $2 billion from his investments into Apple, which is amazing. Like I say, that strong balance sheet, the dividend growth, the services are growing big time, the software side of it. iPhone sales are slowing down, but if they carry on just increasing that value slightly, it's still a nice little bit of money they are going to be making from that. I think it's something like 60% the iPhones still make up of Apple's revenue, and it's still got that growth in China, which is really good to see. So really good earnings report, and like I say, I think we should all be thankful for the Apple's earnings report. I think that just is the cause of the last few green days, or today's green day especially. As for Apple itself, will I be investing in Apple? At the moment I won't invest in Apple, especially when it's at an all-time high. I won't be investing into Apple. I do really like the company. I like Facebook on a dip more. I like Google more. But if Apple does have a big drop, a 10% drop, 15-20% drop, I would pick up shares of Apple if I had the money free. There's no doubt about it. I've done it before this year, as you've seen. I swung trade Apple when it dipped and bought, and then I sold it higher up. But it is one of those stocks that I did swing trade it because I wanted to get into something else. I can't remember which stock it was at the time, but for a long-term hold, I would definitely be picking up Apple shares. I think Facebook at this price and Apple are just really good long-term holds for easy money. And that's kind of my opinion on Apple's earnings, guys, and my view on it, and if I'm going to be investing. That's today's video, guys. Let me know how you think Apple did. I think they just totally smashed it, and I think everyone will agree it was really good numbers. And I'll see you in the next video, guys.